Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mary and I would like to take on a fairly short trip onto a couple of our favourite places around the world and introduce you to some of our furry and feathered friends along the route. And some of them not quite so furry and feathered, but we hope you'll enjoy them. Our first place, our first port of call is Brazil, and it's the Pantanal we head for. Thereabouts, where Mary's putting the pointer, it's the Pantanal, which is a veritable wildlife paradise, and it borders and just overlaps into Bolivia and into Paraguay. It is the largest wetland in the world. It's approximately, so I'm told, about 75,000 square miles, which is about 1.5 times the size of England, just to give you an idea of the scale of the place. It takes, we're going to go next, are we? Yes! No, back!
Okay, get used to it. Carry on.
No, go back.
I'm going to go back. Oh.
Thank you. Right, now next, please. Right. It takes about a day to get to the middle of India, to this strange little town in the middle of nowhere called Pokhane, and there you transfer to an open-sided vehicle such as this. It's an open-sided truck, as you can see, high elevation seats. There's no sliding glass windows to open to poke your camera through. It's perfect for photography. And from here, yes, we travel down to the centre of the Pantanal on this road. It's fairly famous. It's called, I don't know this thing. It's called the Transpantanera, and it's a two-lane carriageway, if you like. It's a dusty old road. It's 90 miles long, and you have to negotiate 122 old wooden bridges, many of which you wouldn't want to go over in your normal vehicle. On the route, you'll see there's dry lands on both sides, grasslands, forest, and gradually, as time creeps on, it turns into wetlands. And the first sighting we saw, one of the first sightings, was someone who we're told is fairly common, but actually you don't see very often, is the giant anteater. We saw him on the side of the road about 60, 70, 80 yards away. Beautiful, lovely person. He was grubbing around, and we had trouble getting one decent shot of him, but I think we've had one or two quite good shots. The exposure and trying to home him was quite difficult. But that was our first wonderful sighting. And because what you do see an awful lot of are the Yacari caiman crocodiles. There's literally hundreds, thousands of them. You can't fail to see these. They're either in groups like this, or they're lurking in the rivers as crocodiles normally do. Hold on a moment. They generally are not as well. They're not as big as the Nile, the great Nile crocodile, or the mugger crocodile, which you may have heard of. But they're still pretty fearsome and ferocious, particularly when they get very close, like this one. And this is a fairly large caiman. Fortunately for him, he's in a bit of a life and death struggle with a yellow anaconda. Now, anacondas are pretty scary and the stuff of legend. The yellow anacondas are not quite as big as the green ones, which are further up in the Amazon, but they're still pretty big. We think that this caiman, because of his size, was getting the better of this little exchange, but we didn't wait to find out, to be honest. Next is a somewhat less ferocious person. He is the roseate spoonbill. He's normally down at ground level, sort of tromping about in the water. He was sitting on a post. The colour rendition is about right. He is that bright colour, that really rosy, reddy pink, and he's got a matching eye to suit. He's an absolutely gorgeous bird, not often seen. Next, once you get down into the river systems, these are fairly common. These are the giant river otters. They're about 1.5 times the size of the otters which we're more familiar with. They spend their time cruising up and down the river banks, and they're quite habituated to us humans. They'll let you get quite close. You normally watch them fishing, which they're incredibly good at, and there's a bit of mutual grooming. Not sure the one on the right's too keen on it at the time, but you do get some wonderful shots of them. And another very common person the feathered variety, is the cockoi or the cocoy heron. He's very similar in size and coloration to our grey heron, and you see them far more often. They're like sentinels along the riverbank every 200 yards. And we all know, I'm just going to say, we all know that you need an animal to be doing something, and we know that they're very good at fishing. Occasionally you will see this person poking his head through the undergrowth, through the bushes at the side of the rivers. You're travelling along in a flat-bottomed boat most of the time, by the way, once you get off of that big truck. And this is the capuchin monkey. He's a rather handsome young man, normally seen in small groups. They're very inquisitive, like all monkeys, and he poked his head out at just the right time to get this quite nice shot of him. Higher up in the tree, actually, these are two young jabiru storks. Now, the jabiru stork is just about the largest stork in the world. They can grow to over 5 foot tall when they're standing on the ground. These are two youngsters high up in the tree canopy in a large open nest, and they've just been sort of fed by one of their parents, a little tiger snake, bless his soul. Now, I'm not a great snake lover, but I have to say I felt a little bit sorry for this poor little chap being pulled apart by these two monsters. And down on the ground level again, rummaging around on the bankside, he's a much rarer creature. He's the agami heron, rather beautiful, I hope you'll agree. And he spends his time fishing, and you can see there's quite a long, beautiful, needle-sharp pointed beak, which he actually spears the fish with, and he's very good at that as well. Next one, Mary caught this nice shot of this ringed kingfisher high up in the canopy. The ringed kingfisher is one of 5, I think there's 5 kingfisher varieties down at the Pantanal, and this is the biggest one. He's about twice the size at least of our kingfisher, or the malachite kingfisher, with which you're more familiar. Gorgeous bird. Next one, occasionally you go from the boat, they will allow you to go on the ground under the supervision of a good guide, and you're walking through the woods and the forest, and one day this guide said to us, up there guys, there's a common potu, and we all said, where's the common potu? What's a common potu? And he had to really zero us in. You can see this bird is probably one of the best at camouflage out of the whole of the animal kingdom. You can see his beak right at the top there, and the half-open eye. And yeah, there's where Mary's got the pointer. There's a little person there just poking its head and beak out from mum's breast feathers, almost like a kangaroo, but there isn't a pouch, of course. Absolutely fascinating. They stay like that for hours, and you would never see them unless someone knew exactly where they were. Of course, everybody's favourite parrot. He is the hyacinth macaw. He's the largest parrot in the world. He's probably 2'6" or so tall, nose to tail. And he always seems to be a happy person, and that huge beak there, it cracks nuts like nothing else. It's absolutely wonderful bird. They are in decline. You only see them in numbers in small places. They are suffering quite a lot actually at the moment, sadly. A non-feathered person. This is the green iguana, a rather handsome chap. He was rather a big one. They can grow up to, I think this one was nearly 5 foot long. They walk normally fairly slowly along the banks of the river. Occasionally, they will stop and you can get a reasonable shot of one. We think he's rather prehistoric looking actually, but he's a gorgeous chap. And one of the most common, one of the most common creatures in the river system is the capybara. He's something like a cross between a small pig and a blunt-nosed rat, if that makes sense. He's a lovely creature. They're very habituated to human beings. You quite often see them walking around the grounds and the lodges where you're staying. But this one we caught on the sandbank as part of a family group, and you can see like some hairy animals, like cows for example, they will enlist the help of our feathered friends to help out with the daily grooming. We won't go into what he's actually doing because I think that's fairly obvious. Next, high up in the canopy again, a slightly bigger monkey. In fact, he's quite a bit bigger. He's the howler monkey. Look at his broad shoulders and broad neck. He's standing there probably in groups of 2 or 3 at most, you see them. And obviously that huge neck houses a very strong voice box. Because, my God, when they start howling in groups of 2 or 3, you can hear them for miles. And of course, the older ones amongst us here will remember the old Guinness advert, Terry the Toucan, yes? This is where Terry lives. He's not quite as big as I thought he was going to be. He's probably 12, 14 inches tall, but because his beak is almost as long as his body. And it is that colour. The colour, I haven't saturated it, it is that colour. He's a wonderful creature. Onto the predators. This one is really quite rare. We were very fortunate to be staying at a lodge where they've built a hide out in the forest, and you go out there late at night with some trepidation, I have to say, in the Pantanal, and there's a little bit of artificial light, but no flash, so you're using quite high ISOs to get half reasonable shots. We were very lucky to see this particular one and get something of a reasonable shot of him. So he is the South American ocelot, about twice the size of a normal cat, of a domestic cat. Gorgeous creature. And what everybody goes to the Pantanal for is to see the jaguar, which is like a leopard on steroids. They're quite muscular they are, and they're much stronger than a standard leopard, if that's the right word. Here, we were very lucky to witness, she just killed a Cayman crocodile. One bite at the back of the neck, boom, job done. No trouble at all. There's no fight. She kills it instantly. She has the strongest bite of all land mammals, pound for pound, that is, bearing in mind that a tiger and a lion are probably nearly twice the size. And this next shot shows you, Mary caught this shot of her dragging this huge Cayman crocodile back up the bank, behind the tree line, and that will do her and her family for 2, 3, 4 days. And the final shot of Brazil, Mary caught this wonderful shot of this lovely, beautiful young lady laying in the water in the fading light one afternoon, and we looked at her in the water there, and I remember the old saying about cats not liking water. Well, I think it's proved the opposite.